When looking back on days that have come and gone, thinking about how we all ended up here in the present we managed to create as a result of every choice and every step forward we carved out for ourselves, nostalgia can simultaneously be enlightening and daunting as reminiscent thoughts creep their way back into the crevices of the mind, regardless of if these past events are remembered for their high levels of fondness and bliss that we yearn to repeat over and over and over again, or unbearable repulsiveness and regret that we prefer to see incinerated, buried, and forgotten. Without one or the other, the push to become newer versions of ourselves, with all that we had learned and experienced, good and bad, could not be possible. That being said, if you're part of RWBY's internet-based community and/or fandom, you may or may not remember that I once contributed video essay and review-styled content to the community through my YouTube channel, dedicated to discussing the iconic animated series that Monty and Rooster Teeth created together. And for good measure, if I was inspired enough in a specific way, there was an occasional experiment sprinkled on top of what I was used to making. Gaining my first exposure of rapid audience expansion from the RWBY community was an invigorating experience, and I won't forget the adrenaline and excitement of seeing my view and subscriber count rise higher than I could have imagined before, which in turn did encourage me to make even more RWBY videos too at the time. But I guess all good things come to an end, as, long story short, after realizing who a few people I associated with were really like, some other baggage of stress that accumulated as a result of the pandemic, and other occurrences in my life around 2019 and 2020, on top of thinking about what I really wanted to do with my YouTube channel, I decided to make a choice, and in February 2021, you may have seen said choice pop up onto the Twitter timeline, as I announced to everyone who'd care to listen that, from that point on, I was no longer a RWBY YouTuber, or RWBYtuber for short, to which I was actually surprised to see such warm reception to. As much as I want to say that I made this decision lightly and without hesitation, I'd be lying to all of you. If one can interpret the RWBY content they view in the space of YouTube's web space on a YouTuber's channel as a stage, albeit a metaphorical and digital one that I shared with fellow RWBYtubers, that stage, that I was once nervous to stand on with everyone else, started to become a comfort zone of sorts. So when I first started to think long and hard about what I really wanted to do with my YouTube channel, regardless of if in my mind I thought about not getting as much views or subscribers as I once did, stepping away from said stage that provided that focus on RWBY for the sake of pursuing variety content was a scary and challenging decision to confront, but it was the right thing to do for myself. If there's one simple thing I've learned in the 23 years I've been on this planet so far, it's that no matter who you befriend, look up to, associate with, or keep close to, you don't make choices in your life for anyone but yourself. You can definitely have some input or guidance provided by others if you're stuck or need a helping hand, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to make the call and manifest something you wish to see occur in your own life. But I guess for old time's sake, even if my passion for RWBY has been lying dormant in my mind waiting to be set ablaze again, I boldly, yet nervously, step back onto said stage of my own accord to speak to you all once more through a video. While this may well be the last RWBY video I release onto my channel for the purpose of going a little more in depth of my decision to step away from RWBY and RWBYtuber space, it's also the most important one I feel I'll ever make. While that passion for RWBY I once had has been waiting to become active again once more since February 2021, I've tried my best to take a break from it in the meantime, whether if I found that in media I know, or things brand new to me that I managed to experience for the first time and wanted to know more about these past few years. And if the stars happened to align and I obsessed over something to a certain degree, that's where my content creator work came into play. Though despite exploring other avenues of entertainment, along with an insistent desire to deviate from the brand, there have been times where RWBY managed to sneak its way back onto my radar, to which I jokingly say, is it stalking me or something? Nah, probably not. It's a funny thought to entertain though, but nothing too deep to look at considering how RWBY has been under the Warner Bros. Umbrella for some time. So I guess in this case, it was only natural that it pop up in another Warner Bros. Related product as a cameo. That aside, however, despite my departure from RWBY's community while continuing to take a break from the brand itself, that doesn't mean I haven't caught wind with what was occurring here and there, be it RWBYtuber events and collaborations that I thought were pretty cool, or what the brand itself has been doing, which, yeah, I gotta admit, That looks pretty cool too. It definitely wasn't something I'd have expected to happen 5 years ago, but here we are today. From time to time, I still talk to a few creators I met from the RWBYtuber space and respect what they've been doing with their content, but I kept myself aligned with those new goals and I wanted to continue expanding outside of RWBY's borders, similar to what I've done before, but on a grander scale. But before I could even get to the state of mind to do so, I've previously alluded to there being a few rough patches during that journey here and there. Sometimes I still sit down and reflect a lot on what's happened these past few years. I've been guilty of yearning for a past opportunity in one other certain community as a YouTuber because I felt that my window of opportunity had closed, and I thought that due to being unable to fulfill what I set out to do then, I was a failure. Going to university and having a job 3 years back while attempting to manage a consistent YouTube schedule was very stressful. Without going into too much detail, let's just say that December 2019 was when things felt like they were all falling apart around me, and I wasn't exactly too happy with where I was in that stage of my life. For one, I was working late nights at the job I had at the time, which did have a negative effect on me to begin with, and on top of that, it felt like things were starting to go wrong in university, as I wondered if pursuing the degree was worth it. Mixing all of that together on top of throwing in a major dissatisfaction with myself, and my inability to keep up with the YouTube schedule I wanted to do during RWBY Volume 7's prime, I felt levels of stress I never thought I could even process. It was a toxic experience, to say the least, and I didn't have a great holiday that year. And before the world declared a state of emergency for the sake of keeping everyone safe during the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, I held on to a yearning feeling of redeeming myself. And the strangest thing was, no one really belittled me for all of this. It was me beating myself up constantly, thinking that I was a failure for it all. It also didn't help back then that once I got a new job that I was happy with around February and March 2020, I had to stop working thanks to COVID, keeping us all out of the office, which made me feel even worse, since that job at the time didn't last more than a month, thus adding on to the stressful baggage and self-deprecation that was weighing heavily on my mind and conscience from December 2019 onward. But on the plus side though, it relieved me the stress of working late nights, and I did get to see friends in Boston for PAX East 2020 to cherish some unforgettable moments with. Beyond March 2020, while seeking comfort in anything I could bring back up from the entertainment world, regardless of what year they came out, I had to eventually accept that not everyone that I met in the RWBY community were going to stay by my side, even if it was a difficult yet necessary choice to cut them out of my life. I also had to accept during the release of RWBY Volume 8 that what I wanted to try a year prior during RWBY Volume 7's runtime was not going to work, and I was not going to recreate an opportunity that I lost no matter how hard I tried. And feeling like I wasn't worthy to hold a certain voice in the YouTube space revolving around the RWBY community didn't help with my self-esteem either, since I felt I couldn't be what I once was. All of this made me feel so defeated, down, and lost even, I suppose, in my mind, until it came time to finish my university degree, which I eventually ended up doing in June 2021. I felt like I couldn't stop stressing about everything that had happened, emphasizing what I mean when I say I felt lost. One can say, to an extent, like how Nora Valkyrie didn't know who she was without Lai Ren. I didn't know who PSYLOD was without RWBY, but just like Nora, I set out to find out, while keeping old friends close. As a result, I had to ask myself over and over and over again a simple yet complex question: who are you, and what do you want? And in a moment of clarity, I felt like my mind just snapped, where I guess it momentarily let everything go, and I said to myself, you know what? It's okay that this all happened. Why? Because I failed here, but it's time to expand into something new. Maybe you weren't ready for the spotlight in 2019, but there'll be more opportunities. Even if the idea of what kind of YouTube channel I wanted to continue creating for myself was to keep working with the video essay and review format that I've taken a liking to. At the time, I still didn't have a clear picture of what I wanted to do for myself, but there was one thing that I knew that was absolutely crystal clear in my mind. I was not going to run with just one single franchise, nor was I going to run towards something else that I loved to make content on, since I knew that old mindset would trap me into something I knew wasn't right again.
Once you realize you're going in a path, like, it doesn't matter if you're growing or not.
Yeah.
once you realize you are stuck in a place, like you're put in a box of a specific type of content or a specific game or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and you know that's not what you want to do long term, it becomes incredibly hard to keep doing whatever it is that you're doing. So in Pat's case, if he knows in the back of his mind, hey, like I love this at one point, but I don't love it the same way anymore.
Yeah.
And I have this new passion, or I refound my love for music and I want to explore that. Doesn't matter how well the channel is doing. At some point, you have to come to terms with reality and be like, yo, this is not my long-term vision. This is not what's making me happy. I have to just do what makes me happy.
From my understanding, everyone that I met in the RWBYtuber space were all drawn to originally covering RWBY on their YouTube channels for a variety of reasons, regardless of everyone's different styles of content they produce, or their thought process behind said content. From my understanding, there's been more than one occurrence of a conversation related to burnout on RWBY content, and it definitely won't be the last time we have discussions similar to this regarding what exhausts a content creator and what makes them happy. And as stated above, it certainly did a number on me a few years back, but I'm grateful that those days are behind me. Perhaps as painful as those days may have been when I was still experiencing them, they did admittedly contribute towards a continuous and developing path forward. And though I couldn't see it at the time, that path helped guide me towards new possibilities and push towards the better version of myself that I hoped to encounter at the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. Where there was sorrow and darkness, now came relief and enlightenment, when the pent-up cynicism, anger, and frustration that made me feel like there was no hope for myself and my dreams were out of reach thanks to what I lost in the past. I was finally able to break through that and look at my life with a positive outlook once more, gazing at a new horizon that stretched out before me. The hopeful future that I wanted to ascertain as a content creator appeared plausible once more. All I had to do was stare at that light head on and accept the new gesture that would continue to guide me into the future I wanted to create for myself as a YouTuber who loves what he does and would do anything to keep that dream alive. As I finally started to feel content with everything that had happened to me and readied myself for what lay ahead, there was a bit of help, both inadvertent and direct, that came from a few inspirations here and there. And that clip I used of the Irrelevant podcast with JC Backfire and MC Sportshawk was one of a few others. On the contrary, it actually lies deep within fundamental roots that JC and Matt stem from: Call of Duty and Call of Duty Zombies. I know it's a given with X franchises these days garnering a content creator's initial popularity and sets the status quo for what people would expect from them or know them for. Hell, I got other friends who caught on initially for a variety of reasons both back in the day and current day too. But before derailing too far from the topic at hand, you're probably asking yourself, okay, why zombies? There's plenty of RWBYtubers that have also pivoted towards other things beyond what they were initially known for. Truth be told, while I was and still am motivated by others both within the RWBY community and beyond respectively, with a few other creators I look up to and watch, most of my inspiration for creating a channel completely different beyond the one franchise root channel I was known for came from the Zombies YouTubers, or I guess in this case, former Zombies YouTubers, or people who associated with zombies. More specifically, Liam Winter, Reed Austin, and JC Backfire even. Hell, even Jason Blundell too, since he's moved on from Treyarch to pursue other endeavors with a brand new game development team since he finished his run with Call of Duty Zombies. And JC has the privilege to stand alongside him with his new endeavor as a community manager. Actually, let's start with JC for a moment. This guy's had a fantastic run throughout his time as a Zombies YouTuber, and got to be a part of opportunities that he never would have dreamed of experiencing in his lifetime. And it was through that privilege that projected him towards where he is today with Deviation Games. Before his announcement of his new job with Deviation in June 2021, a few months prior in April 2021, he brought up many things I consider to be universal points beyond the Zombies community. This video was simply given a one-word title: Rant. One of the few key points that held a heavy resonance with me was this idea of being stuck in the past with certain eras that prevents us from moving forward. And for something like Call of Duty Zombies, that's definitely a given. I was there for what people considered the golden era, in air quotes. It was amazing to experience everything from top to bottom with what that era had to offer. Though to be fair with Black Ops 3, custom maps and mod support injects a lot of life into the game even today. For a while, I'll admit that I thought there wouldn't be anything that grabbed my attention just as Black Ops 3 did. But in order to move forward in life, I could not hold on to a cynical mindset that there will be no other good times like Black Ops 3. Therefore, I cannot experience excitement like this ever again on anything. Ironically enough, it was RWBY back in Volume 4's debut era, 5 to 6 years prior, that I was shown a different and brand new good time to indulge myself in and get excited for after Black Ops 3 had run its course with the Salvation map pack and Revelations. But with that being said, since it has been 5 to 6 years since those times, and a lot has changed for the series itself, the world, and my own life, I'm at that stage where I'm once again actively seeking out brand new good times with things I never experienced before through the entertainment I consume and the content I make. And while my video essay and review style videos are pretty much influenced by the skills I picked up when making videos on RWBY 3 years back, I'd argue that things are kept fresh since every single game or piece I've made videos on are all very unique in their own regard, and I love talking about the different ways they all resonated with me. On top of my channel appearing more varied and cleaned up, I'm quite proud of how these videos all managed to turn out, and I use some, if not most of them, to showcase my best work, and I'm looking forward to creating even more. I wouldn't have continued if there weren't people like JC maintaining one consistent message, not just for me, but to others today too. Never give up and never stop doing what you love.
We got something from PSYLOD again, doing $5 again. Dude, you're going insane. One more thing I have to say. If not for the people I've met or other creators like yourself, I would have left YouTube and stopped making videos. Dude, that means a lot, man. Just the thing that I would say is just never give up, man. If you have a passion, you want to go after it, go for it, dude. Like, if you have time to go for it, go for it.
Chat, do not let anybody tell you to not follow your passion. All right? If there's any point of life, it's that. It's follow what you love doing. It's follow what you want to do. Follow what you love doing. You find fulfillment because you're excited about something that you love. Maybe you're interested in writing. Maybe you love stories in video games, or stories in TV, or stories in movies. Write stuff on your own. Keep going. Keep trying for it. You'll get there. Just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Follow your passion, bro. I cannot stress it enough.
While we're on the topic of keeping things varied and clean, when directing their own respective channels to a new path, I think Liam and Reed had similar thoughts coursing through their minds with moving on from what they were initially known for, as they took a mighty step into the future that they wanted to lead for themselves. Like myself and my RWBY videos, both creators unlisted content they considered not to align with their current skills and ambitions. I'm happy that someone like Reed moved on from zombies to continue embracing other passions of his for his content, which even took the man far enough to get himself some legitimate employment for his content creation passion. And as for Liam, his sketch videos he did with his friends are beyond anything he did during his time doing zombies videos. There's still that humor I recognize from his zombies videos, but these sketches are what took Liam beyond that, in my eyes. Both took a risk, probably thinking the same thing I did, with not getting as much views as they once did, or what have you. But at the end of the day, a content creator's drive should be focused on what makes them passionate and happy, since I believe that's what creates the best results for not only the content they produce, but also themselves and their personal fulfillment and satisfaction. Or at least that's what I've been told by a close friend of mine a few years back, who's also a content creator. And you know what? I still believe him. Views and subscribers are one thing, but what good is that if you don't like what you're making? Applying this to myself, I find fulfillment in making videos on things I obsessed over throughout the years, and it's been an honor to have people write to me in the comments saying how I did a good job describing everything that exists in a product like a video game. But that doesn't mean I won't leave room for myself to embrace something I've never come across before. I've also accepted that yesterday and today's fresh and exciting experiences can become tomorrow's nostalgia. But if there's one thing I've come to realize, as I've reflected on how I first got into RWBY to today, there will always be something new to obsess over and embrace. For everything that's come and gone for me personally, despite everything that's occurred around me, both good and bad, I'd say that getting to where I am today with employers that value and encourage me, continuously thriving foundations that I'm going to continue developing for my YouTube channel, and walking away from university with a degree, it was all worth it. And I'm excited for the opportunities yet to come in the future that I intend to continuously keep building for myself as a content creator. Similar to how Winter Sneak continuously put forward a specific emphasis and encouragement for her younger sister Weiss, it's always best to continuously strive to become a better version of yourself. For the people in the RWBYtuber space that I still keep in touch with here and there, I know that they too have made strides forward in evolving into better versions of themselves by picking up new skills and new ambitions. Sometimes you just need a good teacher and or someone to show you the way. And while I haven't exactly met or interacted with everyone, when I look at what opportunities they've been able to achieve and unlock for themselves, I can't help but cheer and be happy for them. I suppose, with all that I've encapsulated to the best of my ability, with what's come and gone, the last thing I wish to state for not only myself, in case I ever forget, but to all of you out there, are words that the big man himself preached in his lifetime. Words that he'd still encourage us to preach amongst ourselves, even if he'd gone away. Keep moving forward. I know that the element of uncertainty is something that may hold one back, since the future can be so unpredictable, and you never know what's going to pop out on the path you take. But I urge all of you to maintain your current course, regardless of how many victories you attain, or how many times you're knocked down. Keep going, and if you need help, don't be afraid to reach out to those who will have your back to support you. Whether if it's a small or big thing, don't forget to cherish those moments as you continuously develop the very path that you walk forward on. And don't forget to celebrate these things when you achieve them. I've been going at this YouTube thing since 2011. I've probably seen one too many obstacles on my path, but take it from me, no matter how long it takes, you will do what you set out to do. I believe it. And as I've said before during my Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart video, there is no returning to the past for a do-over. And perhaps those initial setbacks were opportunities for me to reevaluate myself and learn, so I could give myself a new opportunity to grow in a different way than I previously thought. All that remains is the future, and it's up to me to shape it through my present and future actions, and my ability to adjust to all that's occurring around me. I won't give up, and I will not stop. I still do not intend to give up, and I am a very patient man who is prepared to continuously play a long game to get to where I'd love for my YouTube channel to be. So, without embodying large dosages of narcissism or craziness, let's all do our best for ourselves, and let's go get this bread. Well, that's about all the pump I have left in me. I guess I was able to finally add something onto my video essay playlist after a long time, which I'm proud of doing so, and would love to do these shorter formatted videos again sometime, while I prepare the longer formed review and analysis videos that I still have the drive to create, even if they do take time. I guess beyond this, if anything, I'll just continue vibing, whether if I'm just playing things on my own, or with friends, while making sure to stay true to myself. I'm sure there'll be times where my own opinions line up with what's being repeated in the masses, like if something is considered good, but there will also be times where I may not care for something that audiences love, while loving something what an audience hates. And while I'll keep an eye out regarding how things will continue to evolve here and there, there's many things I'm keeping an eye on and eagerly looking forward to experiencing when they finally release. So at that, I think I'm just about ready to wrap this video up. If you've gotten to the end of this video and you happen to be a member of the RWBY community, thank you for listening to me. I'm afraid this is where we must part ways again, but who knows? I don't feel particularly inspired or motivated at the moment with what RWBY has to offer soon right now, but never say never. Perhaps we'll cross paths once more into the future. After all, if I had to put this into an analogy, RWBY's one of many stations I could potentially stop in on this content creator endeavor. So again, never say never. And I'm actually kind of excited, albeit a bit nervous, to return to Austin, Texas for RTX 2022. But for the time being, I intend to slowly, but surely, get cracking on the other videos I intend to release in the near future. If you remember me from my older RWBY videos, again, thank you so much for coming through and listening to me talk once more. If you're interested in seeing what future endeavors I partake in with my channel, consider subscribing and or pledging to me on my Patreon page. So, until we meet again, RWBY community, be well and farewell. Thank you.